Hey everyone, welcome back in. It's another episode of Believe in Vikings for today, Monday, January 6th. And I'm your host, Mike Wobschall, joined as always on a Monday by my co-host and my partner, Bryant McKinney, for a BMac Monday. We're here to break down the Minnesota Vikings season concluding loss, which fortunately does not end their entire season. The postseason is upon us right now, but lots of disappointment in Vikings Nation coming off the loss to the Detroit Lions, because instead of having the 1 seed and a first round bye, the Minnesota Vikings will be playing on Wild Card Weekend next weekend against the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to break it all down. BMac is going to join me, but first, BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Hey, BMac, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good.
Good. Holidays were good to you, Christmas and New Year's and all the things?
Definitely enjoyed myself for the holidays. Spent time with my family for Christmas, and then friends for New Year's Eve. So had a good time.
That's a good way to do it, man. Now, do you get on the road and travel? Do you host people at your spot in Miami? What do you do?
This year, I traveled for Christmas. I traveled back home to New Jersey and was able to see my mom, dad, grandmom, sisters, and everybody,
Nice.
nephews and stuff. And then for New Year's Eve, I came. My friend had a 40th birthday.
Yeah.
I came to Atlanta to celebrate, and I stayed for the New Year's.
Oh, awesome. All right, well, back into the swing of things now. We're back into our routine. We saw a Vikings game last night, man, that did not go as planned or as hoped for Vikings Nation. 31-9, they lose in Detroit with the NFC's top seed and the division championship on the line. So, you hate to see when a season goes as well as it has for the Vikings. It's just so anticlimactic to see a performance like that on a stage like that. It was a little surprising, don't you think?
It was. I feel like a lot of things just weren't clicking, and then I feel like they were going through for things a little early in the game too, like the fourth downs a lot instead of just getting the 3 points and trying to keep it going. They went for like two different fourth down plays when they were in the red zone, and I personally would have just said, "Well, let me just get the 3 points at least." And then when they finally did go for a 3 points, he missed one of them.
Yep.
But I just think things kind of weren't clicking. They weren't like in good rhythm. Darnold was the kind of like overthrowing guys or a little too high at times.
Yep.
And it's just some of the guys just who normally catch certain balls just weren't catching. So it was just like a lot of things. It's like it just didn't help the momentum or the rhythm of the team.
So
But I feel like the defense played. I feel like the defense did play good. A couple big plays at the very end of the game. So I don't feel like the score really matches how well the defense played.
I totally agree with you. I think, like, when you consider that the Vikings offense didn't live up to its end of the bargain, I think the Vikings defense hung in there, man. I mean, it was 10-6 at halftime. I mean, 10 points to a Lions team that averages like 32 a game. I mean, absolutely, you would take that all day long.
Mm.
So, yeah, you said some things there that I agree with all of them. And you said one thing I want to come back to, and that's the coaching decisions on the field goals and the fourth downs. I want to put a pin in that and come back to it. On Darnold. Talk to me about that, because I think you're right. He was sailing some throws, he was inaccurate on some throws, and he's been accurate all year long. I don't want to be too dismissive and say, he can't handle the pressure, because I think that's a little disrespectful. But do you think pressure and the moment has something to do with it affecting your performance, especially at the quarterback position?
The amount of pressure they blitzed every chance they got.
Yeah.
So the amount of pressure, and I can see he's somebody who really tries to read all his checkdowns and everything, and he'll hold on to the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
But you have somebody blitzing as a man that's coming free at times, it's going to cause a little pressure. And then by you having to throw last minute, you're trying to make sure you don't throw an interception. So it's like I feel like the ball is sailing a little bit more. So I feel like certain things cause like that, kind of performance.
Yeah. Because, like, in a big game, a clutch moment like that for a lineman, BMac, for you, like, if if you're a quarterback and you're just a little more amped up than normal, yeah, you might sail some throws, right? Or you might throw it too hard so you're leading receivers too much, whatever it might be. In other positions, though, what's the effect of being too amped up? I mean, is it almost like you can't be too amped up when you're a lineman? You know?
You have to still play within yourself. If you're being too amped up, I know there was a player on my team sometimes will be too amped up, and you tend to go too hard, and you'll end up missing because you're not playing, you're not within
Yeah.
yourself. You still have to play at a certain level, but like with some type of calmness,
Yeah.
um, and that's just important.
What's the like? I don't. You strike me as someone who just never really. I mean, you probably played in big games your whole life. High school, you played at the U, so like you were used to it, right? And the Vikings were good for your entire tenure, basically. But like for someone who's not used to it, like how do you calm yourself down in a big moment like that? Like what are some of the things you can do? Is it just being prepared, or are there actually physical things you can do before or during a game to calm it down?
Being prepared, I just feel like each person is different and they handle it different.
Yeah.
But being prepared is always going to make you feel confident. But I don't know how everybody reacts to like if they're getting rattled or not used to seeing all these different looks and things like that. And it's like it's just really based on when you get to the sideline and the adjustments that are being made and how you can calm yourself down.
Yeah, yeah. Like I just remember in the '09 title game at New Orleans when we were there. I mean, you remember how loud that building was,
Hmm.
and I think the first drive of the game, I think we went down and scored a touchdown. And that calmness that you guys all had, that Favre had in that moment was impressive. Like not just the physical ability that everyone displayed, but actually doing it with that many people yelling and screaming at you with that in that moment to go to the Super Bowl. And I just felt like that sort of performance through stress and strain wasn't there. Now, maybe having gone through it the way they just did will help them for the playoffs, right? Because now you can say, "Hey Sam, all right, that didn't go our way, right? Like let's get ready for this playoff game. It's going to be the same way in LA. Like maybe it'll help them out for the
But
next game."
I think it could help them out because like we've been here before. So now we have to react different. Like
Mhm.
last time, it didn't go our way, but this time we've seen this before, and at this point it'll be recently. So we just have to react different because now the other team seeing all that blitzing work, they're going to try it. So you have to just expect it now.
Yeah. I also thought of you during the game last night because I'm watching like on social media. I don't really participate in it, but I read what other people are saying, and they're being pretty hard on some of the Vikings, on O'Connell and Darnold. And I was thinking of you because I'm like, hey, they're getting paid too, right? I mean,
Mhm.
we got to give Detroit some credit here too. I mean, this is a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year. They were also 14-2 entering the game. They had a good plan, especially on defense with their coordinator Aaron Glenn.
They had a good plan. They had like a point to prove too because a lot of guys being injured. So the next
Yeah,
guys who stepped up want to prove that they're capable of being out there and put some good work on film too. So I
yeah.
mean,
Those injuries that they had. That's a good point. I had Glover Quinn on last week, like um just to represent the Lions side and see like what they were all thinking. And Glover was like talking about the injuries on defense. And he was saying sometimes when you're missing a bunch of guys and you're playing with backups, it kind of almost galvanizes you and empowers you. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Because it's like the wind's in our face, everyone's against us, no one thinks we can do it. We're going in there with the JV squad. It almost like energizes you even more than if you had all your starters there. And I think maybe you saw some of that on the Lions defense. So now the Lions get there's one more thing I wanted to go back before we look ahead. And you said it. And it was some of those decisions to go for it. You know, like I think it's a I think what Dan Campbell and the Lions do, they go for it a lot on fourth down, and it's kind of part of their identity. It's who they are.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if when you go against someone who has that identity, does it kind of pressure you to be that way too? And then you're
It
not really
should.
being yourself?
It should. You should stick with what works for you. Like,
Yeah.
don't try to be like anybody else or stick to your game and not like try to worry about what they do. So for me, since it was so early in the game, I'd have just went for the 3 points just to get us some points on the board and not, we had a lot. It was a lot more game left, so I wouldn't have been
Hmm.
worried about going for. I just got those. 6 points because it was like at least six that was left off.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think in those moments, as the Vikings head coach, you're sitting there being like, well, the Lions score a lot of points. Field goals aren't going to do it. But then you're selling your defense short because look how well they played. Those field goals would have helped. I mean, it was
Mhm.
10-6 at halftime,
Mhm.
and it really should have been. I mean, the Lions got a gifted 3 points because the Vikings kicked the ball out of bounds right before halftime. So the Lions got into field goal range. But you add on a couple more field goals there, you have a lead at halftime.
Mhm.
And now the pressure and the stress is on Detroit in the locker room because it's like, come on, man, we're playing at home with everything on the line and we're losing to these guys, So I think that's maybe something the Vikings can go back and pull apart and say, hey, could we have made some different decisions here? You don't want to be too conservative,
Yeah.
but when the points are there on the road in a big game like that, you might want to think about taking them. But that's neither here nor there. Now the Vikings will get ready for the Los Angeles Rams. Before we talk about that, and I have some questions for you about playing the Rams. Did you watch the Ravens? The Ravens finished their season on Saturday. They played the Browns. Did you get a chance to catch that game?
I did. I seen that as
Okay,
well.
your
Yeah.
Ravens are looking pretty good, man.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good. Yeah.
Uh,
And Travis Henry, he's looking really good. He ran the ball pretty good.
Derrick Henry. Oh my
Derrick
God.
Henry,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lamar. I think Josh Allen or Lamar get the MVP vote for me if I had a vote, but maybe
Mhm.
hard not to vote for Lamar. I know he's won it a couple of other times, but oh my God, have you met Lamar? What kind of guy is he? Is he someone you've ever ran around
I
with?
haven't really like we were in the same room, but I haven't really like walked up to him
Okay.
and spoke to him.
Yeah, yeah. He seems like a cool customer, man. Like no
Mhm.
matter the moment, he's there for it. I would not be surprised if he wins MVP. It's either him or Josh Allen. But yeah, I was watching that game with some interest. It's our guy Kevin Stefanski on the other sideline,
Yeah, I
the
seen
Browns
that. Yeah,
head
I seen that.
coach.
Yeah.
He had a rough season, man. So hopefully
Yeah.
they can. I'm sure they're going to keep Kevin. They're not going to get rid of him. He's done too good of a job. They'll keep him. Hopefully, the Browns can bounce back. But the Ravens are in a good spot. The Vikings still in it. That loss felt like a playoff loss, BMac, I think, for
Mhm.
Vikings fans, but it wasn't. It's just the end of the regular season. Because they lose now, they have to go on the road on Super Wild Card weekend. Their game is against the Los Angeles Rams. The game is on Monday night. Now, the Rams and Vikings played earlier in the season. BMac, and the Rams beat Minnesota. So, what's the psychology, do you think, for the Vikings here, playing a team in the playoffs who beat them earlier in the year, returning to that stadium to play them off a disappointing loss? What do you think they're dealing with?
Um, Correct the mistakes you made the first go around.
Hmm.
And just go out here and just realize that this is either you're gonna go to the next round or this is it. So really just go back and look at the film and everybody, your matchups. Like you played against them already this year. So just go out there and just do a better job.
Yeah, it's interesting the process you know of getting over a loss. You know, the balance for you between, hey, let's flush that and get rid of it, but hey, let's pull this thing apart here and see what went wrong. How did you handle that balance?
You really want to pull things apart and see what went wrong and then fix that. That's the main thing at this point because that game's in the past now. So they always tell us you got like 48 hours to celebrate, 48 hours to be like down
Yeah.
about it. Um, right now, my focus will be like to pull apart the Rams and I'm saying each player individually, see what they did wrong in the last game. This is kind of your time for like a little bit of redemption
Yeah.
and go back out here and have a better performance this go round.
Yeah. That Vikings defense, the team can hang their hat on the defense. They played really well against the Lions, and they're going to see another quarterback in Matthew Stafford, someone who was with the Lions, BMac, when you were still with the Vikings. He's been
Hmm.
doing this a long time. A
That's great.
veteran quarterback in the playoffs like that. What do you expect from Matthew Stafford?
He's been around a lot. He knows how to manage the game, things like that. So he's been to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So this is familiar to him. So he knows what it takes.
Yeah. Um, the other weird thing about this now is it's a Monday night playoff game. That was not the case when you were in the league. They were not playing playoff games on Monday night. So everyone's gotten ready for a Monday night game, but now it's in the playoffs, another day of hype, another day of prep, off a loss like that. What do you think? You give them the day off today, maybe, and then come back to
Um,
work Tuesday?
yeah, because I feel like they would need an extra day. Like Tuesday doesn't have to be a like a work, like a hard work play, but mentally, we go out here mentally and we just start breaking things down and start adding additional plays and stuff. But yeah, I definitely would get them off and then come back and be ready to work. Just the extra day of film study and stuff.
Yeah. There's so much more hype, man. There's more media around your facility for those games. There's
You're down
press
to
con
less teams now, so it's
Yeah.
like half the league's going home.
Yeah. How much do the players pay attention to that? You got the PR guys in the locker room asking you to do more interviews than normal, don't you? I mean, do you notice it as a player? I mean, the quarterback has to notice it because he's got to
Mhm.
do press conferences. But not every player is required to go up to the podium and do it. Now you get to the playoffs, they might ask you to do stuff like that. Does that ever factor into your preparation, or is it just so far
No,
beneath you?
it's just a part of the job. So you know what's going to come with the territory. Just maybe just additional interviews or ESPN. Somebody might have you come in and do something via satellite, things like that. But it's a part of the territory.
Yeah. So who's impressed you this whole season in both conferences? Who do you expect to sort of be in the race here a couple of weeks from now? Who's going to win a playoff game or two? Is there any team that, kind of stands out to you in particular that you've really thought has had a great season?
The playoffs are so tricky to me. Like some teams that have all these good records, and then all of a sudden it's just like one
Yeah.
team just start clicking and just get on fire and knock somebody off. So the playoffs is tricky. I have to see like the first maybe like two games, and
Yeah.
then I kind of can have an idea.
I think an interesting game is the Ravens Steelers. They're going to play for the third time this season. Of course, they played twice in the regular season, and now this because of how the last week went, the Steelers go to Baltimore to play. That's a big rivalry game. Did you play the Steelers when you were with the Ravens in the playoffs ever?
I don't think we played in the playoffs.
Okay,
Uh,
that's a nasty, intense game, man. A playoff game between those two clubs. What do you expect there? Lots of
Absolutely,
physicality.
it's definitely gonna be a physical game, and it's a rivalry game. But I feel like at home, the Ravens should be able to prevail because those fans they're not gonna let up.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm expecting a good game just because it's a rivalry team.
Yeah, me too. I think that'll be a good one. And then the weird thing about the Vikings, so obviously Monday night, and then it'll be a short week for them to prepare for their next playoff game if they
Saturday.
win. Yeah, I mean they're either going to play Saturday or Sunday, but they had just played Monday.
Okay,
But
yeah.
if things go the right way, the Vikings end up back in Detroit in the divisional round.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah, so and that's why I don't know if you caught it, but when Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell shook hands at midfield after the game, Dan Campbell said to Kevin O'Connell, "I'll see you in 2 weeks."
Okay.
So he's basically being like, "I know we're going to I'm not celebrating too much here. I know we're going to see you in 2 weeks." So that would be an interesting storyline if the Vikings get another crack at Detroit
That
in
would be, and
Detroit.
it would be interesting if they were able to kind of right their wrongs with both of the teams they lost
Yeah.
against this year. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I think that's a great storyline, and probably there's some players in that locker room that are hoping that they get another
Mhm.
crack at him. You know what I mean? You don't want to wait till next year to have to get
Right.
another crack at the Detroit Lions. So that'll be an interesting storyline to see unfold. All right, well, we'll have to figure out if we can get another episode in here before the Rams game. BMac, see if we can preview this game because they don't play for a week. I mean, 1 week from now every other team will have played their playoff game, and we'll be sitting here on our thumbs waiting for the Vikings to
Right.
play. So maybe we can find a special guest or something like that for Monday.
Okay.
To because that day was long as hell yesterday, waiting for the Vikings game. I don't know what you were doing, but I'm sitting around here waiting for that game to start on Sunday night.
Me too,
I
but I
mean,
was glad it was a national game so I could watch it.
yeah,
Because
I know because you have to deal with that, man. You
yeah,
sometimes you don't get the Vikes game broadcast where you're at.
right.
So I think we got to get the Believe Network to get you NFL Sunday ticket. I think we can talk to the
Okay.
bosses about
Right.
that. Then you can watch every game no matter where you're at. How about that? Okay. I don't know if they'll listen to me. I think you're gonna have to go at them with that one. All right, man. That's gonna do it for the show today. Anything else in your notebook you wanted to get to?
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, let's do this again later in the week. And if not, we'll do it again on Tuesday. Recap that Vikings Rams playoff game. Should be a lot of fun. We thank you all for watching and for listening. On behalf of BMac, this is Wobby signing off for now. Until next time, everybody, keep believing.